Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Dwarven Tavern review. This time, I am Dr. Jeff Goins, your host. This time, I'm going to be reviewing the Traveler boxed set. Let's get this around right. The boxed set called of the Pirates of Drinax, or Drinax, depending on if you're correct or not. I may not be, but I'm going to pronounce it Drinax, or Drinax. I'll pronounce it one way or the other, and maybe both. We shall see as time progresses. I never know myself until I do it. This box set goes for $99.99, and that might seem like a fair chunk of change, but you get, with this particular box set, you get the Pirates of Drinax hardback, the Trojan Reach hardback, and the ships of the Trojan Reach. This time, I'm going to do, because they're hardbacks and it's such a phenomenally awesome collection of books, I'm going to do them one at a time. So this one, we are going to do, the first book, The Pirates of Drinax. It might be Drinax, I don't know. But it's a gorgeous book. I mean, the book itself is gorgeous. It's hardback. It's got the gold gilt letters and the super nice everything about it. It's in the very familiar Traveler style format. So it's not like it's, you have all these books in one format and then you get the fancy book out and it's got, this the fancy script and all that stuff on the inside. It does not. It is very much like all of the other books, which to me makes it very familiar, very easy to look information up, etc., etc. So there's that. I like that. So in this book, we have the introduction, of course, campaign overview, because this is a campaign book. Running the Pirates of Drinax. I think Drinax would be better because otherwise it sounds like Drano. We don't want the Pirates of Drano. I mean, anytime you get a clog in the... never mind. The Pirates' Life for me, yar. The Pirates' Life for me, laddie. Pirates of Drinax, honor among thieves, treasure ship, the Hatai, or the Hatai, Fnurfner, the Demon's Eye, the Treasure of Sendal, the Game of Sun and Shadow. I wonder if Gur Martin wrote that. No, he didn't. I'm not detracting anything from the authors of these wonderful books, because they're good guys. This one was authored by Gareth Hanrahan, and Matthew Sprange was the developer, or is the developer of this, as we continue. The Verito Gambit. I wonder if those are nacho cheese Veritos. The Prodigal Outcast, the Blood of the Star Dragon, the Finale, and the Patrons and Opportunities. And don't feel bad if I make fun of names, because that was kind of like the litmus test for all of our character design throughout my entire career as a gamer, is when we come up with a name for a character, we present it to the group, and if anybody can make fun of it, it can make fun with it, magically mutate it into something that's hysterically funny and stupid, then that character name will probably go in the waste bin, and there you have it. And then we'll just have to start from scratch. For example, I had a character named, he was a big, awful barbarian type in the first edition, and he was just rippling with armor and power and all that stuff. He was encrusted with power, and his name was Sorath, the Encrusted. At the time, I thought it was cool, but these things do happen to the best of us. And after the laughing and the humiliation was through, I changed his name. Actually, no, I think I killed him. He was an NPC, so I just he died. Probably from some awful disease. So, the introduction, the campaign overview. The Pirates of Drinax is a complete campaign. If you are a traveler in this campaign, stop reading now. If you are a referee, then please proceed, which I am. So I'm going to proceed. But I'm going to be very careful not to do any spoilers. That is, oh man, if you are a spoiler, that's a big freaking no-no around me. I despise spoilers, primarily because I felt I accidentally gave a spoiler because I thought everybody in this group had read a certain book, and we were talking about it, and I I just came up and said, oh, that's a shame that what's-his-face kicked off. And one of them went, oh, I hadn't finished the book and I felt so bad. Oh my God, I felt so bad. So that's when I started a campaign for anti-spoilers. Anyway, in the Pirates of Drinax, the travelers play a band of adventurers, hardy ones at that, who are entrusted by the King of Drinath with a letter of marque permitting them to prey on illegal trade within the borders of the vanished kingdom, and the king hopes this piracy will give him the leverage he needs to restore Drinax to its former glory, and intends for the travelers to win back all of the planets lost over the last 2 centuries. But the king's plans are just the starting point for this campaign. Okay, no spoilers there because it's right off the book. Right off the bat. I knew it was something to begin with a B. Right off the boogaloo. The story, obviously, is very linear in its approach, and it is replete with tables, such as rumors of the Reach. These are rumors that your characters may have encountered in a 55. The emperors of Sindal were immortal. They only died by murder. They knew about a perfect Anagathic, but the secret was lost when the empire fell. So that's an interesting rumor, and so forth. So it's a D66 rumor thing. So it has a very brief but astute list of refereeing tips, sort of dungeon mastering tips, which, that's the same thing. Why Drinax, building alliances, refereeing the pirates, the pirate life for me. Piracy breeds problems. A repetitive pirate is a dead one. Yar. If the same pirate attacks freighters landing at Wildman 6 times in as many months, then the 7th freighter will be a Q-ship packed with concealed interceptors and a brigade of Imperial Marines. You'll be keel-hauled. Keel hauling in space, that's death. I mean, normally keel hauling is just running the length of the keel via rope to let the barnacles flay flesh off your bones. There's no barnacles in space. There's also no oxygen. There's a lot of mythology about the cold vacuum of space. You wouldn't freeze to death immediately. There's a whole series, I think, of YouTube videos about how you wouldn't just instantly die and explode in space. So anyway, chapter 3 is the pirate's life for me. It's got a list of ports and starting levels, pay attitude, pay rates, crewman names. For instance, I'm rolling doubles with these dice today, which is interesting. Shay Revan Tessin. I'd like for you to meet Master Dank. And that's not Count Dankula, that's Master Dank. It's like the great grandson of Count Dankula. Crewman's quirks, always nervous. Why do you say that? That's paranoid. Man, that worries me. That bothers me. And so forth. And it covers morale, retaining crew, standing, your effects of your standing. 2 great powers who cast long shadows over the whole Trojan Reach, the Third Imperium and the Aslan Hierate. A pirate ship standing with these 2 powers determines how they react to the pirate's activities. Both sides are willing to ignore minor acts of larceny, like spitting on the sidewalk, chewing gum while you're walking, unsuccessfully. And both sides are secretly in favor of attacks upon the other by pirates. Makes sense. The enemy of my enemy is the guy that I don't bother counting as sins. The fewer Aslan merchants in space, the more likely the Imperium is to dominate the trade routes, etc., and vice versa. However, if the pirates are too brazen and their standing drops too far, the Imperial powers will respond with violence. Keel haul ya. Work the plank. Etc. If your standing is 20 plus, you're an ally rewarded for your heroic efforts here on page 13. And then if it's a negative 40, you're an enemy of the state. The pirate is hounded by agents of the Imperial power ranging from assassins to naval ships, upgrading and repairing ships and so forth. And so it isn't a campaign without supporting documentation. So it covers a lot of brand new rules that refer to very specific the pirate life, like looting the targets, boarding the targets, attacking. It has a D66 for the quirks of your prey, such as 33. I rolled a 55, a 44, and a 33. What are the chances? The damaged ship. The ship has sustained 1d critical hits, each of a severity of d3 already. So you come upon a wounded ship. 46 is a psionic defender. One of the crew of the merchant ship is a scion. So I would probably be likely to just move along unless I myself was a scion. In everything from a ghost ship to infestation to diplomat to dangerous cargo and so forth. So it covers a very wide range of quirks or situations that your pirate ship could get into. Complications is another thing, such as the starport below launches a ground-to-space missiles. First missile hits in 1d plus 10 rounds. So it was like, we have a lock on us from the station. There's missiles incoming. Should we? And so forth. So the book itself is also very, very full of new rules and rules that govern the thing about pirates. And the thing that makes that cool, and it's very, very smart of the developers, is that it makes it almost necessary, if you're not going to run this campaign but another one, it almost makes it necessary to have this book. I think it does make it necessary because I love the book just to have, but it's necessary to have the book for playing other pirate campaigns because it's got a lot of really cool rules in it. Clever. It's a good strategy, and it's very helpful, very useful. It's always a good strategy to write something that is useful. I mean, yeah, believe that or not. Pirates of Drinax, Honor Among Thieves is another one, and this is where I believe this is where the adventure begins. So the first 24 pages are additional addendum rules for the pirate-based campaign and or scenario. That works for you, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander in my games. So if something is good for one thing, then everybody can use it if they have access to it. And this is a rule of thumb. If your players, and this is for the referees very specifically, if your players come up with an idea, one of the things that I do, because I've got this good for the goose, good for the gander, there are very few unique ideas in this world with over 8 billion people on it, which means if you thought of it, then there is a chance that someone else also thought of it. Okay, meaning, and if you don't believe me, come up with some nonsensical problem and then Google it and see if someone else doesn't. I mean, there's probably a forum dedicated to that, right? So with that in holding, I mean, that's one of the things that inspired me to think of this is that, if you have a computer problem, just Google it and see if there's a forum that has your answer, because there is a very high percentage that someone will and someone else would have, and that your question may be answered before you even ask it, practically. So if someone has an idea in your campaign, then there is a pretty decent chance that someone else also has this thing and is implementing it already, because you're not only dealing with one planet of 8 billion, you're dealing with 8 billion planets, maybe not that many, but you're dealing with a lot more. I mean, look at The Fifth Element, what the president said about when he was referring to his presidency. He said, I and 200 billion of my fellow citizens want to know something or other. So at that point in time, there was one population. I don't know if it was all on Earth, probably not. But there was one population of one government with 200 billion people and other species as well. So if the chance of, someone else thinking of it and you thinking of it, or you thinking of it and someone else having already thought of it, more what I wanted to say, is if you think that's good here, just spread it out, multiply that by 200 billion, and that's just one civilization, and there's millions of civilizations out there, so there's a good chance that someone else will have it. Back to the book. In this book, it has a large number of pre-generated characters, and I was absolutely smitten by this, because one of the things that now Traveler is, as a side note, Traveler is one of the easiest games to create NPCs because the stats and the skills are so freaking simple. It's just amazing. Medic 1, Pilot 1, blah blah blah. or two. You know, he's a good pilot, and he's a doctor who flies a plane or a ship, et cetera, et cetera. And you can come up with these really super easy NPCs really, really quickly, and you don't have to worry about all of the things that you have to worry about with like 3.5 or, you know, Pathfinder or any of the other games that are seemingly infinitely more complicated than this, and still get the same amount of information across, which is one of the reasons that Traveller is my favorite sci-fi role-playing game. And plus, there's no levels that you have to worry about. So it's like, what level? It doesn't matter. There are no levels. There are only do. And this guy, Keeper Malos, is one of the characters on page 28. And without giving any spoilers, I'm not telling you who he is or, you know, what he does and who you're going to meet, because you may be playing this. But one of the things about this book, about this entry, I'll say, about Keeper Malos, is that all of the characters, it includes tips on how to play him. Playing Malos. Make lots of morbid jokes, talk about the rewards of travelers will get if they survive, about how death comes to everyone and how fleeting life is. So, smile with the saddest face you can manage. Clasp your hands and bow like a monk. So if you go to him for a job or whatever position he may be in, he's like, hello, how are you? You're here for that job? Yeah, there were others who also wanted that job. So they're not with us anymore. But, you know, all paths lead to the grave, so I'm sure there's not much to worry about. You'll make a lot of money if you come back, possibly. And that's Malos. Everything that they've done in this book is an effort on their part to make sure that you get these characters right, number one. Number two, that it makes it so much easier to play through. There is a Vargr named Kirsch. Playing Kirsch, you're not really that bright, but you are used to barking orders, getting your way. The loss of your ship humiliated you. You feel broken and defeated, so you're looking for a strong leader to take charge of you. I'm a good boy. Bow your head, hunch your shoulders, and whine like a whipped dog, because he pretty much is. So forth and so on. All of the characters in this, all of the NPCs have those, and of course it's replete with maps. Replete is a good word, and I like it, and I use it a lot, if you haven't already noticed that. There's a map on page 36. There's a lot of maps, but I wanted to bring that one up. And then, of course, the illustrations are fantastic, and it has a list of thugs that you invariably meet, because you gotta work off your frustrations somehow, and thugs are the best way to do it. And it goes through the adventure from start to finish, like you might imagine, with various encounters and things like that. Very well written. Again, the writing in this is top notch. It's super easy to understand, because some of us have thicker skulls than others, and it's not insulting easy to learn. It's not like Play School, where, if you're a 30-year-old reading a book and you realize that they're talking to you like you're an idiot, then you might get insulted. If you don't get insulted, then you're not bright enough to worry about it. It goes on to the treasure ship adventure, and it's the same thing. It's got rumors and lies and encounters at the starport and so forth and so on. Then it has the stats for ships that are in the adventure. I'm not going to give anything away, but again, it has a ship. It's got a map, floor plan, deck plans for the ship that you can scan and blow up to. Hopefully it doesn't blow up, but you can scan it and then expand it, maybe print it out or whatever. Or if you get the PDF version of this, which I highly recommend as well, then you have access to all of the maps and stuff, and you can either blow it up and print it out, expand it, enlarge it, and print it out. Talking about spaceships and blowing up is like wait until you get online to the security station and at an airport and start talking about your love for explosives. Don't do that. It's got the astrogator, OSHA. Every time I see that, I talk about the astrogator. It is also replete with NPCs and so forth. So all of the adventures in this book are very much that. I'm trying to remember. I had one on page, there was something on page 33. The characters, the NPCs, the format thereof, actually I already mentioned that, the format thereof are pretty standard throughout the book, and it makes it super easy to read and super easy to get a grasp of it. The coolest thing about it is what I also mentioned about how it's Traveler. It's very simple character rules, and so you can get, instead of worrying about the rules, you can get on with the freaking game and play it, instead of, worrying about what level they are and filling in all their stats and stuff like that. Just giving them a list of abilities and things that they can do is super easy, and their skills and stuff. It's just amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing game, and I love it with all my heart and all my soul and a little bit of my knee. It has things like combat drones and creatures to an extent that are particular to this, specific to the book, or to the actual point of the, I'll get it eventually, to the point of the, to the story. So yeah, I mean, it's one of the best written adventures. And here on page 214, I didn't even realize this when I was playing with my karambit, but here on page 214, there's an illustration of a pair of karambits, which is very cool, and so forth. So wrapping it up, at the end, it has the, of course, the climactic moment where the proverbial fecus hits the fan, and everything falls to pieces if it does. I've never been a proponent of hard-coded plot points. If someone misses something and something doesn't happen, then that's just how it is. And I've known a lot of game masters, dungeon masters, referees, what have you, who believe that it's, that their story has to fall in line with this, that, and the other thing, or it ruins it. Life is organic, and people's choices are a lot of what makes the story happen. And even though you may have things that happen that are supposed to happen, if they don't happen, then just you came up with this thing, so come up with something else. It's just that simple. And if something happens that's outside, if you intend for them to be here and they're over here when this happens, and if it's the thing that happens anyway, then if they don't see it happen, then they will have heard of it, or they might see the aftermath or the effects of the event, unless of course that event is the end of the universe or whatever. So there's ways around shoving characters down a chute that they have, because that takes all of their freedom of action and behavior, and it really is kind of ruiner of the game. So don't do that. Give your characters the freedom to act and interact as they see fit, and try and give them a cause to do what you want them to without forcing them to do it, or making it very obviously that you're meta. All game masters are meta. But you have to escape from that. You have to disenfranchise yourself with being meta as much as possible to give the illusion of a story happening, instead of, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. Like this one idiot it was a moronic thing called the Random Falcon. And it was the dumbest freaking thing I've ever heard. Anytime one of his players did something stupid or something that he didn't want them to do, he called it the Random Falcon. It was an immortal falcon that was infinite power, blah, blah, blah. And he would have it come in and grab one of their prized possessions and destroy it, because he was a shit dungeon master, kind of a moron. So don't do shit like that, because it's stupid and it ruins the game, and etc. So anywho, the final part, chapter 14, Patrons and Opportunities, is a look at the Borderlands subsector, and patrons, as it says here on page 263, the following patrons can be used to enhance the Pirates of Drinax campaign, providing the referee and travelers with many opportunities to explore the Trojan Reach and gain an edge on their enemies. Use these ideas within and between the main adventures will help make the sector become a living, breathing place in your campaign, which is exactly what I was just saying. Give them options. Don't make anything hard-coded in stone. Don't have them go down a narrow corridor. And this is a very wide corridor. It's actually several parsecs. So, it has like the Acrid, the Argona, the Runeshir, Seer, the Bearney. All the guitar merchants come from Cordan, Ergo, Falcon, and so forth. And it goes over several subsectors, a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do. So, in all reality, this could be a campaign that runs throughout the course of a friendship. Or a gaming group. You could just concentrate on just this one and run it forever if you wanted to, which is amazing. And the thing of it is, I've noticed a lot of gaming companies put out things that are extremely finite because they want you to buy their next thing, which is fine. I mean, that's okay. Everybody wants, they're trying to make a living also. So this is not that. This is not an instance in which you can you get over it quickly. You can play through the campaign as quickly as you want, but there's a lot of opportunity to make it last for a very long time. I think it's an amazing book. Very rarely do companies come out and design something that's incredibly cool and good for the players as well as their own efforts. And this is both of those things, and it's the Pirates of Drinax. This is the first book in the boxed set. The box set runs $99.99, which, in my opinion, is incredibly worth it just to have it. It's got a new set of rules. It's new addendum to the rules regarding piracy and ship-to-ship combat and such. It says that it recommends that you have the of course, the core rules book, and it also says that you should have the central supply catalog as well. It recommends that, although it also says that it's not necessary, which is fine. So it gets 5 axes, right? And there they go. So I highly recommend it. I will be doing a follow-up review of the Trojan Reach and then the Ships of the Reach in the next 2 videos, just because it deserves it. It's just such a nice volume. Comes in a nice box. I love it. So, on behalf of the entire cast and crew of the Dwarven Tavern, I am Dr. Jeff Goins, and we wish for you to want for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it, then I charged the pirates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.